I found out my wife had an affair years ago, and she never told me. She says it doesn't matter anymore, but I can't let it go. Ada? My wife, 34F, and I, 36M, have been married for 8 years, together for 10. We've built a good life together, happy, or so I thought. Recently, while we were going through some old messages on her laptop, she asked me to help her find an email. I stumbled upon some old texts between her and a guy from work. They were flirty, way too flirty, and when I dug a bit deeper, I realized she had an affair with this guy about 6 years ago, while we were married. I was shocked. She never mentioned this before, not even during the few rocky periods we had early on in our marriage. When I confronted her, she admitted it right away. She said it was a stupid mistake, that it was brief, and that she ended it because she felt horrible about it. She said it was a tough time in our marriage and claimed she didn't want to hurt me by bringing it up later, especially because it meant nothing and she's been committed to me ever since. Here's the thing, I can't stop thinking about it. It doesn't feel like it's in the past to me, even though she insists it's irrelevant now. She says I'm overreacting and that I need to move on because we're stronger now and this was years ago. But the trust one thought we had feels shattered. I'm torn because I still love her, but I don't know if I can get past the fact that she kept this from me for so long. She says it's ancient history, but to me, it feels like it just happened. Am I the asshole for not being able to let this go, even though it happened years ago and she says it doesn't matter? Caught my wife, of 13 years, cheating with a coworker. Just here to get straight to the point. My wife and I have been married since we were 25. We are 38 now. We met in college, got married, and everything has been great. We both graduated, got good jobs, and started our lives together. Me and my wife both made good money, so money was never an issue for us. My wife worked for her dad's small business while I worked for a very large company. After a few years, my boss left the company out of nowhere and they needed someone to take over. The only person who knew how to run the department was me. So, I got a major pay jump, better bonus, better benefits. The works. So, at 28 I was making probably 3x plus more than my wife. At 28, the same year, my wife gave birth to our first daughter. Then, 2 years later, our second. My wife, due to working for her father, was able to be more diverse in working. Well, around 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. That left my mother-in-law and wife in a hard position. Sell the company or run it themselves. My mother-in-law had no clue how to run it, so my wife said she would do it. After my wife took the company, it did just as well as when her father ran it. With that being said, my wife got a huge pay increase, more than me. I was proud of her. Going from a basic worker to running a whole company isn't easy. Anyway, our daughters started suffering from not seeing their parents. Me and my wife discussed one of us staying home. She said, "The company you work for will be fine without you. Mine could go under." I agreed, so I quit my job and became a stay-at-home dad/husband. I do everything. I make sure the girls are all taken care of. I cook, clean, fix things, make sure errands are run, you name it. I pamper my wife when she gets home from working. This went well for a while until about a year ago. My wife was always very appreciative of what I did and loved it. She has become very mean lately. Like just saying things like, "Do you do anything, or how about you work for real?" What? I work my ass every day making sure you don't have to lift a finger when you get home at all. Also, I had a real job, but I quit to raise and take care of the girls, our home, and you. Not to mention my wife is very sexual. Always has been. She quit initiating sex, and when I asked, she is never in the mood. That was very odd. Eventually, I quit trying. I just thought, with all the pandemic crap and everything else, she was just very stressed and it was getting to her. I started trying harder to make her happy. Nothing ever worked. Last weekend, my oldest had a softball game. So, I get everything ready and we go. During the game, I wanted to take a video for my mom and dad since they live in another state and don't get to see my daughters that often. I forgot my phone, so I asked my wife if I could see hers. She had been attached to it all day, so it would be good for her to get off it. Anyway, she hands it to me and says she is going to get a drink and a snack. She gets up. I video my daughter when a message comes up on some app. I check and I can't even fathom what I see. My wife and this guy from her work, who is 8 years younger, are sexting and sending videos and pics, talking about how great the sex was, and then me. He is saying how I am some wimp who can't get a real job taking care of his women, and my wife agrees with him. I couldn't believe the shit I saw. I was so devastated and angry all at the same time. I heard my wife coming back, so I closed the app and started videoing. On the ride home and when we get home, my wife tries to talk to me and I am not in the mood. Eventually, we lay in bed and, for the first time, I guess they hadn't met in a while, tried to have sex. I tell her I am not in the mood. She says, if you are going to be a bitch about everything, you can sleep on the couch. I got up and went to the couch and now have been here since. I don't know how to move forward with this. I really just don't know where to start. My wife was my everything, my girls are my world, and all of that is dying. Any advice would be wonderful as I really fucking need it. TLDR. Wife and I met in college and got married. Her dad died and she took over the family business. I became a stay-at-home dad and she is cheating on me. Edit, should have mentioned I did send screenshots of the conversation to my phones. I do have the evidence. Update 1 posted on November 3, 2023. Caught my wife, of 13 years, cheating with a coworker update. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all for the advice you all gave. First off, I do have the text, pics, videos, and everything. Second, I don't any of the company. It is 50-50 between her and my mother-in-law. Third, I can't sleep in the bed. I have been sleeping the guest bedroom every night and that is where I will be staying. To answer, I have decided to divorce her. Anyway, this morning I called a firm in another town to avoid anyone finding out. Thankfully, they were able to get me in this morning as someone had canceled. After dropping off my girls, I drove over there. To make a long story short, he is a very good lawyer. I showed him what I had. He said that luckily for me, with the evidence I have, she will be pretty much screwed in the divorce. Seeing as I quit my job to raise our girls, she is never home, she is having an affair, prioritizes this man over me and my girls, she will lose very easily. He basically said we will get child support, alimony, I will keep the house and we will have to pay for it as long as my girls live there. Also, he stated that we could even try for more money since I am considered no longer viable in the working world to help me pay for more education to get a job. Some of you were right. He said to not work until after the divorce is over. He said since you are the husband, if you have a job you can lose a lot of this. He asked if I wanted full custody. I said that I don't mind my wife seeing her girls on the weekends every once in a while, but I would want mostly full custody. He said since she had an affair in the marital home, I can basically do what I want. Since he stated bringing over a strange man over to the house put the girls in danger and makes her guilty. So, I will be going for full custody where she can get weekends once, maybe twice a month. No man will be allowed around my girls, and if there are, she could face problems by me if I find out. I just don't want that POS around my girls. He eventually said to keep quiet until the draft are ready and then he will issue someone to serve her and have it issued that she is required to leave the home. He said he should have it done sometime next week. He asked me to just keep quiet. He said I know it is hard and you are upset, but just shut the hell up until everything is done. Once the divorce is over you can say whatever the hell you want about her, but until then keep your mouth shut. He said act as normal. He said, no fights, no issues, sleep in separate bed, and no sex. I said no problem, but why? He said trust me, just don't do it and do as I say. I just got home and have started getting ready for dinner and acting and being normal. I will be acting as if everything is okay until she is served next week. As I can only make 2 updates, yes, I actually read the rules on here. Any more will be on my page if anyone cares. Thank you all for the advice and some very harsh words. And to the one guy who asked for my wife's nudes. Just know. It seems all you have to do is ask her and she will send them, so it isn't that hard it appears. Quick edit, he recommended I get an STD test. Plus, a DNA test on my girls. When I asked why, he said, it is pretty rare incidents like this are the first time they have happened. So, yeah, that fucking hurt to hear and scared the hell out of me. Update 2 posted on November 13th, 2023. Caught my wife, of 13 years, cheating with a coworker. Update 2. Hey everyone, I just want to thank you to all who sent me good messages over this period. I have been feeling down and things have been rough. To preface, I have talked to my lawyer about these posts. I didn't go into too much detail. They did tell me though, as long as I keep them brief and not super specific, that I can post, but I just have to be careful about what I put on to not lead too many details. That is that. So, for quick update, like I said, will be brief and not too specific for legal reasons. We will start with the test. I was able to get an STD on myself and a paternity test on my girls. I came out that I thankfully have no disease and I am clear. Since I have been pretty much sexless from her for the last year, I wasn't all that surprised. Now for the one that I am sure most of you are wondering. The test on my 2 girls. Am I the dad? I will always be their dad regardless of the results. However, I am here to say that, yes, I am their biological father. I have never been. I know a relationship is impossible, but I can't get him out of my head. I, 24F, am looking for advice about a situation that's been unfolding in my life recently. I am not a usual Reddit user, but I can't speak to anyone in my personal life about this, so I thought I'd give this a shot. Here's my story. Back in May of this year, I went on a month-long trip to Saudi Arabia to visit some family on my mom's side. I am not, and my family is not, Saudi either by ethnicity or nationality. This is important, but my aunt is married to a Saudi man and has lived there for 25 plus years. I decided to go on this trip with my mom to surprise her, as my mother and aunt have not seen each other in 25 years since my aunt got married and moved. While on this trip, I got to meet family I had never met and really enjoyed myself. I did not go there seeking love. In fact, I don't think I've ever been in love. In every potential relationship I've been in, I've felt was always missing something. I never truly felt deep feelings for anyone, so much so I kind of began to feel I was heartless and cold, or love wasn't even real. I'm saying this so you know I'm not the type of person who falls in love easily or is a hopeless romantic. However, while in Saudi, I met the family that lives next door to my aunt's. They had a son, 29M, who was unmarried and still living with them, as customary for Arab/Muslim traditions. The moment I saw him, I felt something I had never felt before. I didn't know what it was at first, but as the days went on and I spent more time around him, I came to realize I was in love. Like the movie's type of butterflies, face flushing, stuttering kind of feeling. He began to consume my thoughts and I began to look forward to seeing him, even though when I did I would often find myself running away or making excuses not to be in his presence. It was confusing, but I was afraid it would be plain or obvious that I liked him if he spent an extended period of time with me. Some background on him, because it is extremely important. He is a member of the military in Saudi Arabia. A huge number of men there usually are. Fast forward to the end of my trip and he's being sent to Mecca by the military for Hajj, pilgrimage, that season. He came to see me before he left to say goodbye, and I was standing there the whole time battling with whether I should take this last chance to tell him how I feel for him. But I didn't have to, because he confesses to me that he has feelings for me. We exchange contact info and keep in touch even after I go back home. Things developed between us, and it's safe to say we are both in love with each other. However, we talk about what the future for us would look like. Because long distance isn't the only issue. Being a part of the Saudi military means you cannot marry a foreigner. And I am not a Saudi citizen, thereby making me a foreigner. His military career is something he worked incredibly hard for, and he has achieved a high-ranking, important job. Marrying me would mean he would have to quit and either take a minimum wage job. He doesn't have any post-secondary education as he joined the military right after high school, or go back to school. I wouldn't mind moving to Saudi for him as my job allows me to work anywhere, but he is adamant he wants to contribute equally to me and doesn't want me to take on the responsibilities of providing for us. He tells me taking a minimum wage job will leave us living in poverty. I cannot ask him to move to my home country, Canada, for me, as it would mean he would have to learn a whole new language and adjust to a different county, not to mention leave his entire family behind. This would be hard as his mother is on dialysis and he takes care of her needs and drives her to all her appointments. It is literally impossible for us to have a future together despite how much we love each other. We've looked at it from all angles, and we don't know what to do. Lately, we've decided to take some time apart as the situation is taking a toll on both of us. However, try as I might, I just cannot stop thinking of him. I'm finding it hard to think of any other man romantically or be attracted to anyone else. He is there in my every imagining of the future, and I'm at a loss. What do I do? Do I move on and try to forget him? Or is there some way we can be together? I fell in love with a guy in the Saudi Arabian military, but we can't get married because they don't allow military members to marry foreigners, and he can't move where I live. Do I move on, or is there something I can do?